Right, so I'm most likely not gonna ask you questions about network and protocols because we didn't really talk about that in this class. That's more WST 151, which is a prerequisite. But these bottom questions from the study guide that's here, which I've linked. I might put a separate link for this because right now it's under assignment 3 on Google Classroom. If you go to assignment 3, these are the links, but I should probably create a separate link for that. Yeah, I'll do that, but right now it's there. It's this link gets you to this page, and then sample exam questions. I'm gonna put this sample exam in there as well, and your final exam is gonna be very close to this, but with slightly different questions. Okay. So let's keep going through this, so make sure everyone understands these. Okay, so what CSS mask property allows you to mask part of an element with a PNG image. It's the mask image property. Mask image, and then the value for it is going to be with this URL and the parentheses. It's going to be a path to an image. In this case, what is this? masks.svg hashtag mask1. This is used a little bit differently. This would be an image URL, mask.png, image URL. Not sure what the difference is when they use this way, mask source value. We didn't really see that example when we did it. Here, W3 Schools has better explanation. So in this one, they just use mask image and then URL and the URL of an image. I don't know what the whole image was for. Yeah, this one does not have that example. Yeah, it's just mask image, and then you could use a linear gradient or a radial gradient. So it doesn't have to be an image. You could use a gradient to do this. And you can use okay, this one uses an ID, I guess. This one uses an SVG. It's a little bit different. Let's see how it works exactly. So you have an SVG, I guess this triangle SVG, polygon, fill, FFF, points 200, 0, 400, 400. So this is 200, 0. So that's 200 pixels down, I believe, and then 0 pixels to the right, and then 400 pixels. Actually, no, let's mess with that real quick. The first number should be the x coordinate of the point. Let's change this to 100 and see what happens. Okay, yeah, so that first one was the middle point. That's why it looked confusing. So 200 to the right, 200 pixels to the right, 0 pixels down, so it's all the way at the top right now. Then the next point is at 400, 400, meaning it's 400 pixels to the right and then 400 pixels down from the top, so it ends up here. And then the last point is 0, 400, so 0 to the right, 400 down. So x and y coordinates for the 3 points of the triangle. And that's how you create this triangle with this SVG. And then it's just wrapped with this mask element with the ID equals SVG mask 1. And then the image here is, let's see, how do they get the image to be behind the mask? not sure how they got the image there. Original image. Okay, never mind. That's this part here. We could delete that so it's not confusing. So here the image is in there because they have this right here. Xlink href equals image 5 and whatever that is .jpg, and then mask equals svg mask 1. So they included the image inside the svg. If you want to try this, maybe we could let's copy that, and let me go to here, and this is what we were working on last class. Say I want to put this background image inside a triangle. We can try to do that. Let's go to the HTML, and the background image it's not an image tag, it's a actual CSS background image on hero, I believe, right? That's I think what we did yesterday or Tuesday. Let me double check. And so I'll actually double click this so it stays open, and then double click this so it stays open, so I don't have to keep looking for them. And then let's minimize that. So if you look for a hero, there should be a background image on there. Yeah, div.hero. We got the linear gradient background, and then we've got the image here. But the example that we just looked at, the image was an image tag, so I might have to change this up a little. Let's just add, I'm just gonna paste this in here, this SVG. Remember, this is the actual shape. Let's delete this real quick, the mask part. So we can bring in an SVG, give it a width and a height, and then a polygon in there. Give it any fill here. We could say red if we want, or green, and then points. Again, these are the first point, the second point, and the third point, the x and y coordinates of them to form the triangle. And then this is the image that's gonna go inside. So it's gotta have this image, and it's actually spelled out image. This is SVG, which means it's in a different language than HTML. It's actually XML. So XML rules are different. You make up your element names. There's no IMG tag that exists in there like we normally would have in HTML. Right, we have image source equals, this is up here is HTML because we're outside of the SVG. // images, and I'll just, where's that background image? I guess I didn't put it inside the images. Where did I put it? Oh, I did. Okay, there it is. // images. I forgot we're in the HTML, we're not in the CSS, so no need for // That was taking me back to the home folder. Right, so images background.png is the background image. Open that with live server. Okay, and you can see here, this is that image tag that I just added. It's that same background image, but I just used the image tag to bring this in instead of the background image. And then here's that SVG triangle. Remember I made it green? So it's just showing up down there. And why is this stuck here? Okay, so there's the image and there's the wait. This image doesn't exist here. We should just delete this real quick so we're not confused. Let me just delete this whole thing. That's not really doing anything here yet, so let's delete it. All we have is this image and the triangle right now. So to make this image appear inside the triangle, we first move this image inside the SVG. And because this is XML now, we don't use img tag, we use image with the image actually spelled out. And I have to reference the other part. I forgot how to do it. It's gonna be the image tag plus this XMLNS colon xlink instead of source. Actually, sorry, this is the, what is this for? I don't think we need that. We just need this one, xlink href. Yeah, this other one, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that you put in XML tags, but if I delete this from here, it probably won't affect anything. Yeah, it still looks the same. Not sure exactly what this is for, but let's just delete it so we're not confused. This one is what we need. Xlink href instead of image source. So this image, instead of a source, it's xlink colon href. And you can see what that did is it put the image inside the same SVG container as this polygon triangle. Right, they're both inside the SVG. There's the image, there's the polygon, but we also need to move. We need to put this mask tag around the polygon and give it an ID, and then this image needs to have this mask attribute on it equal to URL and then the ID of the actual polygon, the mask actually. So let me put this on the side here. So we need the mask tag. We could stick the image, or not the image, the polygon needs to go in there. And then the polygon, the mask actually has to have an ID on it. Let's just call it, I don't know, triangle. And then the image needs to have a mask attribute on it. Mask equals, and then we need this URL, open close parentheses, hashtag triangle. And then you can see it put the image inside the triangle. Although it kind of looks weird with this background on top of it. Let's move it somewhere else. I'll just take this out of Hero and just place it on top here. Okay. Not sure why it's transparent though. So let's take it outside of main. It's still transparent. I'm not sure what's causing the transparency. Oh, it's probably because I don't know. I think the other CSS is somehow affecting it. The CSS we put on this div hero. Not sure. Let me get rid of the linear gradient, see if it still looks like that. Let's also make sure we're watching SAS. I guess it had nothing to do with that one. It's still transparent. Yeah, not sure what the transparency is about though. That's weird. Yeah, there's 3 assignments total. I mean, there's 3 assignments, but your final submission for all 3 needs to be a home page that I can click on to see all of them. So you need to create this home page like I have it here and just put assignment 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So I can just go to your home page and then just visit each of your 3 assignments. So if you don't do the whole homepage thing with GitHub, that's just gonna count. Well, a few points will have to be taken off, but the total. But I mean, I'm still gonna count that you did all 3 of them, but you're gonna lose a few points for not properly submitting it. So make sure you do this. So today, again, it's the last lecture day. Make sure you ask me questions if you have any. So I mean, I'll walk you through it. If you need help, we could, you know, there's not a lot of you. We don't have too many students in this class, so I could probably spend some time with each of you to get yours to look like this. Unless you want to save it for lab day. Anyways, let's figure out why this is transparent. That's weird. Is it transparent in the example? Put this here. Where did the example go? Okay, here it is. Yeah, the example is not transparent. Oh, it could be the fill. Remember I put a green fill on it? I think the darker the fill is, the more transparent your image is gonna be. That's the only thing that makes sense to me here. Since I put green as the background, it's not completely white, so it's looking at the color as like um a mask like you would have in Photoshop if you create a layer mask. The darker color would be more transparent and the lighter color would be more opaque. So I'm guessing if we change that green color that I added on the SVG, it should become less transparent. Let's make it completely white. Where's the SVG? There it is. Okay, so this fill green, that needs to be white or FFF. And yeah, there you go. So if I made it black, you wouldn't see it at all. If we started with hashtag 000, you won't see it. But then as I increase this to darker color, you'll start seeing it appear. Right, until we get to really bright colors. You can see it becomes less transparent. So that's how you control the transparency with the fill. Right, now I could maybe, I don't know if I want to keep a triangle in there, if that's gonna do us any good on the design. I think I'll just get rid of it, but I want to keep it somewhere. Just cut it out for now, and where could we throw that? Let's put it in the header. We have all this like room down here we can't do anything with. Alright, let's put this in here. Put it under the cart. So after this unordered list, let's paste this in there. Now we have this random triangle in there, and it's out of the way and doesn't hurt. And I want to change the triangle to maybe a mushroom shape to make sense here. If I'm gonna do that, I don't know if I could generate a mushroom with this. This would be too difficult. Yeah, we're not gonna use this tool. Instead, I could probably just make an SVG in Illustrator. So you don't have to use this simple polygon that I have. Polygon with 3 points. It's the most simple shape you could create probably. Oh, and if you're wondering about this, I've got assignment 1, 2, and then for 3 I've got vanilla, JavaScript, and Bootstrap. This is optional. You choose one. You could do vanilla if you don't want to use Bootstrap or JavaScript. If you're comfortable with JavaScript, you can use that if you want, and if you like using Bootstrap, you could use that if you want. Or you could use all 3 if you want, but I just wanted to show you 3 different ways of doing the navigation part. But you don't have to do all 3, just one assignment 3. Alright, then let me open up a new file here. You're welcome. And let's create a mushroom. A simple mushroom shape here. Let's put some circles on it. What happened to the other one? Would this look better if I angled these? Just make them all bigger. Anyways, okay, that's fine. Let's go with that. And I'm just gonna simplify this in Illustrator by combining this and this shape, and then poking these through this one. So it's just gonna be one solid piece here, basically, just that. And let's do a file export selection. Let's export it as an SVG. Put it on the desktop. And where's VS Code? Let's drag it into our images here. Actually, sorry, we don't need to drag it in here. Well, we do kind of. I'll drag it in there because I want to easily find it instead of going to the desktop. I think it was this. Put that in the images folder, asset 1. And you can see here now, instead of a simple polygon inside the SVG with 3 points, because we have a more complicated shape, the SVG has this group, and I don't know why there's 2 groups, but yeah, I don't know why there's 2 groups. Object on group, object on group, object on group, on group, on group. I think I have to say make compound shape. Path. Anyways, who cares? It's just 2 groups, but there's the path. I probably just delete this group. I don't know why there's 2 of them. Yeah, just delete that one and delete that one. You don't have to do that. I don't know why I did that. It's unnecessary, but you can see the path to create that mushroom shape is this, with all these more complicated coordinates that have to go into it. But you could import this. Let's see, cut it out, and we could replace the polygon with that. And oh, we don't need the SVG tag. We already have it out there. Let's delete that. Let's delete this part. So we just have the group with the path inside. Let me see if that worked just the way I expect. Refresh. Not really, that didn't work. Okay. I should probably keep the original SVG's SVG tag. There was stuff in there that's probably important. Like let's keep all the groups. Keep both of the groups. And let's keep the ID and the data name and the XMLNS. All that stuff probably is necessary. So I'll just copy the whole thing here, except for this XML thing. I'll just paste it here and then figure out what I need from here. We need the mask. That will go around this. Get the closing mask tag. We got the mask, and then need the image. After the mask. And that's it. And I think I could delete the rest. It also has a width and a height. Did this one have a width and a height? This one does not have a width and height. But let's see if it works without the width and height. No, it does not. Okay, so let's add a width. Just copy it from here. And actually, when I save this, there should be 2 of them in there. I don't know. If I deleted this, shouldn't the other one appear? Yeah, it does. Okay, let's bring it back the other one. If I have both, for some reason, it doesn't show both. Let's delete this one. Come on, why isn't it working? Could be this path is too big. I probably need to pay attention to the size of this. This is 1920 by 1080. We don't need it that big. The dimensions I have here are 600 by 400, so let's keep this at that size, 600 by 400. Even then, I don't think that's the problem, but I'll put that there, and then I'm also gonna make sure that there's no unnecessary groups in here by selecting this and saying, oh, also this has a black color. That's probably why we don't see anything. That's probably the only reason why it's not working. Let's continue with this. Remember, black doesn't show. It has to be white to show, and this currently doesn't have any color on it. There is nothing for color here. To add a color, let's see, file, let's make this whatever random color, file, export, export as SVG. Well, no, let me do export for screens. It's supposed to give me like a preview of the SVG. Whatever, I'll just export it on the desktop. Let's look at the code for it. There should be a place to add the color. Open with Notepad. Yeah, okay, so here we go. When you add color, it should have this definitions tag here with the style and then the fill, whatever the fill is gonna be. So that's what's missing. Also, if you look at the polygon that I had, it had this fill property on it. Maybe I could just put a fill here. Fill equals hashtag FFF. Let me see if that makes any difference. Oh, there we go. Now we could see it. What's the other path? So we have two paths in here. I could probably fill this with color too. Right now, these circles are empty because that path is black. If I fill it with, let's say, hashtag 777, it should be semi-transparent, I think. Right, or let's do hashtag FFF here and keep this one black and see what happens. Oh, okay, so looks like the FFF is the outline of the mushroom, and then the 00 is the fill. So you could still see you could kind of see the image through the mushroom there. If the path was thicker, you would see it more easily, but anyways, we'll have the fill be white and the path be black. Looks like it's sticking out from the side because it's too big. Let's make sure we make it smaller. We gave it width and height of 600 by 400. Wonder if we could decrease that or if it's not gonna matter. I don't think this will change it because this path I think is like an absolute coordinate, so we can't really, I don't think we can change the size like this. But let me try. Let's do 400 by 200. Oh yeah, no, that worked. Okay, we could decrease the size. What if I do 500? And let's increase this to 300. Let's go to 250. Anyways, that's fine. I just don't like, I don't want it to make this extra wide. Let's make that 200. Okay, I think that's just the normal size of my menu. It's not the mushroom making it bigger. We'll keep it at whatever size it needs to be. Anyways, alright, okay. So you can do things like that. You could also interact with SVGs. If you import them like this, if you actually embed the SVG, you could interact with it. So like for example, the fill, we could use JavaScript to change the fill. Like if we say we could add like a click listener like I did with the other example of this one. Remember I added this click listener, add event listener click, so I could click the button and then change what classes are added to the close button. I could also add a click listener on an SVG, and then let's say maybe a hover or something, and we could like change the fill color when I hover over this to a different color or make it more transparent or something. But I don't want to waste time on that today. That's that's more JavaScript stuff. I'm not sure if you can do it with CSS. If we do it like this is like SVG's inline style, or it's more like it's an attribute. It's not even a style. But this other example that I exported as blue, it had a different way to change the color. It has this defs and the style. So I think you could put like a hover over these, and then maybe we could interact with it like that, right? But you could see here it's got like this .cls. So there's XML classes. So this is a class CLS-1, and then the fill of that is aqua. And then here the path has class equals CLS1. So I could maybe copy this and try using it. I just want to test if we could use like a CSS hover to interact with this instead of using JavaScript. So basically that needs to go in here. Defs style, let's just call this the mushroom. And then give this path class equals mushroom. And let's take away the fill. Let's also take this fill away. It's black by default, so we don't really have to specify it black there. And yeah, you could already see it's a little bit more transparent because this aqua color is applied to it. So I could put hashtag 000 and you won't see it anymore. If I do 555, you'll start seeing it transparent, and then again build up to full white and it'll be fully opaque. So let's see if we could add a hover to this though. So what if I say dot mushroom colon hover and change the fill to hashtag 555. That doesn't work. Mushroom colon hover does not work. I was hoping we could do it with CSS, but doesn't look like we can do that. I'm not missing anything, right? It should be working if it was gonna work. Yeah, it's not a double colon. Oh well. But you can use JavaScript, I guess. And what happened to this? This is supposed to be uh I see. It's this thing has a height of 100 VH, which is viewport height. So it's always gonna be as tall as my window. That's why I could scroll down and see the rest. Um, I think maybe we could change that to 100% so it's just as tall as the whole window. Control F, 100 VH. There's the nav height there. Let's change that to percentage. I don't know if that's gonna work though. Refresh that. Height 100%. Looks like it's still the same. Didn't really do anything. Yeah, okay. I'll leave that as I would expect it not to work at all if I put 100%, but it still does the same thing as 100 VH. So I'm not sure which one's the appropriate property to use. VH or percentage in this case. Does the same thing. I'll just leave it as VH. I think though if you did want to have it go all the way to the bottom, maybe we could do it with top 0 and bottom 0. I don't know if that's gonna stretch it. And get rid of the height. Wait, why is this doing nothing? It's not changing anything. Vanilla CSS. Is this vanilla HTML? Yeah, it is. My Sass is working. Let's reopen it. Assignment 3. Vanilla.html. That's weird. It doesn't seem like the CSS did anything. Bottom 0, top 0, and I got rid of the height too, but it's looking exactly the same. Let's try something else. Let's change the background color to this green. Save it. It should have changed. What am I looking at here? Oh, I wasn't watching SAS. Oops. I thought I was though. I could have swore I just checked and it said watching. Anyways, okay. I wasn't watching SAS. It wasn't changing. Let's go back. I'm pretty sure 100% did make a difference. Shouldn't work exactly the same. And it still does. Okay. I guess it does. Well, if we get rid of it, then yeah, okay, we can see the difference now. And let's try bottom 0 and see if that does anything. Um, looks like bottom 0 sees the bottom of the window as 0, and then it just goes, it does the same thing as 100 VH. Um, and it's probably because that's how tall the HTML is. So position relative on the header. Let's try putting the header at height 100%. Still no difference. And the HTML height 100%. Yeah, okay, I don't know. I can't get it to stick to the bottom. But that's fine. I don't see that as a problem. Let me check. We did the human interaction site that has a similar side menu. Oh, this one's actually not tall enough to. Well, actually, I see. Um, well, this one's got a fixed navigation. So even when I scroll, this just stays where it is. That's probably the method we should use on this one. Like when you bring out the menu, you don't want it to scroll up and down, right? You want this to stay where it is. Uh, that's why we should change. It's gonna be a simple change. We just need to change the position of the navigation instead of absolute to fixed. It shouldn't make any other difference. It shouldn't break anything because absolute and fixed are pretty similar. It's just fixed is gonna remain where it is on the screen even if you scroll. So let's look for the header, padding height. Where's the navigation? There it is. Okay, so this navigation, instead of position absolute, if we make it fixed, I think that's a better idea. Right, so this pops out and then it stays where it is even when you scroll the page. That's the correct way to do this, I think. Although not sure why it did push the whole page down, it looks like. Right, it kind of pushed everything down. Top 0, left negative 500, position fixed. Let's make it absolute again. Oh no, it was always like that. Okay, never mind. It was always pushing this down. If you don't want this to have like a white space, let me double check though. Was it like that on here? Yeah, it is. Okay, I never noticed this whole top part is white. I don't really want that to be there. I'd rather this whole picture gets moved all the way to the top. So to do that, I'll keep this on fixed, but we want this nav to move up and header currently, I think header is what really needs to move up a little, or it's pushing the nav down. The nav is inside header, top 0 is just making it stick to the top of the header. So the header itself actually needs to get out of here. And then also this button here, hamburger button, which is inside header. We kind of want that to always be there, so we can always open the menu without having to scroll up. So we can make the whole header position fixed, and then that will just keep it there always. So this button is always there. We can always open the menu no matter where we are on the page. And when we scroll to the top, there's no white space up there, it's just a button. So header needs to be position fixed to make that happen. And if you make the header position fixed, since the navigation is inside the header, you don't really need to make the navigation fixed as well. It'll just be part of the header. So we could probably, let's try taking it out completely. Oh no, don't take it out completely, because then this won't work, top left. So you could keep it fixed or keep it absolute. Oh no, it looks like we do need to make it fixed. Okay, don't make it absolute. This needs to be fixed, and this needs to be fixed. So both header and nav should be fixed to make this continue working as it should. Yeah, okay, changing it to absolute kind of broke things, so let's keep it that way. Fixed and fixed. Any questions? Oh. Let's go back to the exam. I kind of got sidetracked by the whole SVG thing. Alright, so symbol for general sibling selector should be this. That's the general sibling selector. That's what we're using in our CSS in some places, like right here. Checkbox 2. Whenever it's checked, we want the sibling of checkbox 2, which is the drop down, like sibling selector, adjacent, or a general sibling selector. This could be a plus too. Plus would work here too, but the plus just means the drop down has to come immediately after the checkbox, where this one means the drop down could be any sibling after checkbox 2. If we look here for checkbox 2 right here, see the drop down is the immediate sibling. So with the tilde, the general sibling selector, this could be any, like I could have another element between these, right? There could be some other div or image or paragraph, right? And with the general sibling selector, this one, you can still affect this drop down. But if you use the plus sign in this situation, it wouldn't work anymore, because again, the plus sign is for adjacent sibling, meaning the sibling that comes right after it. So since the sibling that comes right after the input right now would be this paragraph, it wouldn't work anymore. It would only work, this wouldn't work. It would only work if it was the adjacent sibling. There's nothing else between the two. I think there's a better example. W3 schools. Adjacent sibling selector. Alright, so here's the adjacent sibling selector, the plus sign. Is used to select an element that is directly after another specific element. So in this example, we got, what, 3 paragraphs, or we got a whole bunch. We got 8 paragraphs here. And then this one is saying div plus p, meaning any paragraph that comes right after the div, I want that to be yellow. And then if we look here, we've got divs, and then we've got paragraphs, and we've got divs with paragraphs in them. Since this is set to affect adjacent sibling of a div, that means only paragraphs that come right after the div are gonna be yellow. So paragraph 1 and 2, they're not yellow because they don't come after a div. They're inside a div. They're not direct or adjacent siblings of the div, so they stay white. But this one, paragraph 3, it's gonna turn yellow because it comes right after the div. It's an adjacent sibling of the div. Nothing happens to 4 because it's not an adjacent sibling. And then again, number 7 is going to be yellow because that comes right after a div, and then the others are not. So if I used, instead of the plus, if I used the tilde, then all the paragraphs pretty much after the div would be yellow. So here you can see now 1 and 2 are still not yellow because they're not after a div. Remember, this is any paragraph that's a sibling of a div. These are not siblings of a div, they're children of a div. These are siblings of a div, right? They're at the same level, so they both turn yellow. And then these two are not siblings of a div, they're a child of a div, so they don't change color. And these two are again siblings of a div. So that's the difference between the plus sign and the squiggly line. So most of the time you're going to use that squiggly line because it doesn't limit you to adjacent siblings only. It could be any sibling. Okay, so squiggly line or tilde, that's the button above the tab on your keyboard or next to the number 1. Next question. In order to use top, bottom, left, or right CSS properties, you must first change the default something property to relative, absolute, or actually I should say relative, absolute, something, or something. There's more than one more that you can set this to. But I mean, I was just using it a second ago. Anyone know the answer to number 3? You must change the default what property? To use top, left, bottom. Actually, we don't need this one anymore. Top, left, right, or bottom. What do you need to use these? You need to change the default something property to a relative, absolute, or I mean the answer is right there in front of you. The default position property to absolute, relative, or fixed, but there's more options. You could do absolute, fixed, relative, or sticky. The static is the default one, so this is the only one that this won't work because this is the default. If you don't put this, it's static already and you can't use these. So to use top, bottom, left, or right, you need to use either absolute, fixed, relative, or sticky. So in order to use that, you need to change the default position property to relative, absolute, or fixed, or sticky. I just forgot to add that fourth option because sticky is kind of new. You might often change the what property to inline block, flex, or grid. So what property has the value of inline block, flex, or grid? That one's easy, right? Display. Remember, inline elements are like text. You could use text align center to center them. Block level take up their own line, like this 4 and 5. These paragraphs are block level. This text, these words are all inline. This little input that I put in here between the text is also inline. Inline block, actually this box could be inline block. Inline block is just a combination of inline and block, where it will go between the text, but you could also give inline block a width and a height. On just regular inline, you put a width or a height, it's not gonna change anything. All right, and then flex is for, I don't know, if you want to quickly position things in a single row or a column and you want to easily spread them apart, maybe have one element here, one in the middle, one on the right, or all three in the middle, or all three on the right, or all three on the left. You use flex for that. And then grid is for creating an actual grid, splitting it to multiple columns, kind of like what we have in our home page, or on this one at least. Display block, we got one FR, one FR, and then here we got 3 columns, one FR, one FR, one FR. You could also use display flex for this. Number 5, the what selector can be used to change the style of an element when the mouse is hovered over it. That one's easy. So what do you add to change the style of something when you hover over it? I just tried it with the SVG, it didn't work, but it works in HTML. Anyone know what's happening with this when I hover over it? The little hamburger button. One's easy one. Colon hover is the answer. So the hover, or put it like that. The hover selector can be used to change the style of an element when the mouse is hovered over it. How about when you click on them or tab to them? I used this before we changed everything on my vanilla example. I was using focus, but I don't like using focus because as soon as you click away, whatever your focus was on, it gets removed. So I don't find it as useful. With the checkbox, we created a much better user experience. Remember before with the focus, I had to, when I clicked this to open it, if I clicked anywhere else, it would immediately close. And then I couldn't use focus on this as well because, again, as soon as I click on it, this would close. So it's not as useful. The what selector can be used to select specific children of an element, such as the second or third child or every even numbered child. We did that with these spans inside the hamburger. Nth child 1, nth child 2, nth child 3. Remember, in order to animate the equal sign changing into an X, I don't have actual classes on each of these. So instead I used nthchild1, nthchild2, and nthchild3 to select these three spans. So nth dash child. The flexible layout module makes it easier to design flexible responsive layout structure without using float or positioning. You can use it by setting the what property to what. We kind of already talked about this one. The display property. To flex. And then the CSS what layout module offers grid-based layout system grid. You can vertically center elements with the flex container by setting the align items property to center. SCSS variables begin with a $sign. Remember when I created variables in CSS? I don't think I have them in this one. But yeah, if you want to create a CSS variable, or an SCSS variable, just put a $sign. And let's say, I don't know, main color hashtag, and then put whatever you want your main color to be. And then if you want to use that variable, you just use it background color instead of this. I could say $sign main color. It's just as simple as that to use variables in SCSS. Multiple choice. Got a multiple choice area here. This class will add some padding to an element. That's pretty obvious, right? Oh, actually it's not. This class, we're talking about Bootstrap over here. Remember with Bootstrap, how do you add padding? This is a trick question. This would work. This would also work. Actually, it's not. Multiple choice. I should be clear on this. PX is for padding on the left and the right, and then P is just padding all around. So both of these are correct. You can use this class to change the text color to red. Text danger. This is Bootstrap stuff. This class will add some margin to an element. M-1. Bootstrap grid layout needs this class for each row. Use this class to center text. Text center. I mean, these are pretty obvious. Even if you never looked at Bootstrap, you could probably guess these. Use this class to add padding to the left and right. Okay, that's where this one comes in. Alright, this is just for padding all around. This one's for left and the right. This class will make an element take up half of its grid container at a large size. Remember, grid is 12 columns. Col large 6 would take up half. Oops, let me zoom out so I should have thought of this. This is hard to drag if you're zoomed in. Okay. Class will change a table to a striped table. Table striped. And I didn't really show you that one. But let's just pause and let me show you a quick. Let's jump back to assignment 2 where we had a Bootstrap site. If I had a table here, hopefully you guys remember how to do tables. So assignment 2, let's make a table. Remember, this is a Bootstrap site. I'll put a table in main right before the paintings. So table row, table data, row 1, column 1, column 2, 3, and 2, 3, and 4. And then let's copy that, make another row and another row. Now we have 3 rows. And why is it okay? Let's change the color real quick. Style equals color hashtag 000. Font size 2em. Font weight bold. Oops. Alright, so we have a table, but doesn't look much like a table. In Bootstrap, if you just simply give a table a class equals table, that should add some styling to it already. And if you add table dash striped, should give you striped table. So you can see it's lighter gray, darker gray, lighter gray. Anyway, so that's this one. Striped table, table striped. This Bootstrap component creates a slideshow. This carousel. And that one we actually did use. You can see here. Where's our carousel? There it is. Div ID equals carousel example, class equals carousel slide. That's it for the multiple choice. The rest we'll maybe look at these after the break. Plus, don't forget it's not just this. Also check the link here for not these, but all the way on the bottom, the Git questions. I might throw in some questions about GitHub and Git. Nothing too crazy, just the simple stuff. Alright, let's take a break. Alright, let's move on to just adding some more to this page maybe. We didn't really... I mean, I made it look different than assignment 1, the ladder, but there's still some elements that are exactly the same. I should probably switch these up. Or at least let's add a little animation. Why is this black? Oh, because I just added a variable and I used it. Main color, let's get rid of that. Leave it to this and delete that. And by the way, that was a $sign plus some name like main color or primary color, or I don't know, blue 1, and then picking a color. This is again the SCSS way of creating variables, but you could also use regular CSS. If you weren't using SCSS, you were just on this one, the regular CSS. Um, you could add a variable with, first you have to pick the scope of the variable. Usually it's root if you want it to be available everywhere, but that's also the same thing as HTML, so you could just put it in the HTML, but you define it with dash dash var, or sorry, dash dash, and then the name, like primary color colon, and then you just place the color like hashtag FFF. Let's make that blue. But then to use it, um, unlike SCSS where you just put a $sign, let's say I want to change the header background color. So instead of a $sign and then the variable name, like in SCSS, you have to do var dash dash and the name of the color. So it's a little bit different in regular CSS. But that's how you would do it. You define the color and then in the scope that it's going to be available in, and then you could use it wherever you want. Oops, that's the video. Let's bring back, why is Dreamweaver open? Okay, let's put this back here. Let's zoom out over here. What did I not save? Was it? I guess it was this. Right. Alright, let's add a little bit of animation, like making this move up and down or something. Or we could add another element somewhere on the page, like this mushroom that we have here. Oh, by the way, why is this not taller? Header height 100%. Let's make that 100 VH. And then also the nav. Did I get rid of the height on it? Yeah, it looks like I accidentally forgot to put the height back in. Height should be 100 VH on this. There we go. Looks better. Okay, so let's switch out some of these things. Why Mugu? Customers love it. This, that. Maybe I'll just get rid of this part, or let's add something to it. Instead of why Mugu, I'll just change that to something else. Let's add I want to add like a slideshow, but no, the slideshow would take a little too long to do. Unless I used Bootstrap, I could just copy paste the carousel from Bootstrap. You could do a CSS only slideshow. It won't have any buttons on it though. Although maybe with the checkbox we could figure something out, but I haven't done it before, so if I tried to figure it out now, take up the whole class, so I won't do that. Um, Instead, I'll just add like a featured product up here, just one image. So let's save this real quick, and I'll put these three. There's only three of these. No need to stack them up like this. I can make them smaller. Just make it keep it as 3 columns. So let me go to the CSS over here, and let's look for the features. Was it section 2? I think this was section 2, and we did yeah, at screen size 900 pixels, grid column, span 1. Here, features. Grid template columns 1 FR. No, let's keep this. Let's delete this and just keep it as 3 columns. So it'll stay 3 columns. And I think I also need to shrink the pictures a little bit. So image, instead of height 120, let's just make it 100. Yeah, that works. And above it, I'll just throw in another section that will have a featured image. So I'll create a div here. This is gonna be, well, this is gonna be section 3 now if I add another div here. This is gonna be section 2, the new one. So that's gonna change this to section 3, and this is gonna change to section 4. That means in the CSS, I need to look for section 2 and 3. Change 2 to 3. And look for section 3 and change that to 4. Just so we don't break anything. Now I'll create this new section 2. Right, so it's gonna go here. Alright, so in section 2, let's throw in one product. I'll do, we just have an image. And maybe like a price, or I don't know. Let me go to one of those mushroom websites. Mushroom gummies. Not this one. Okay, so we got these gummies examples. Maybe some reviews on it, plus a description and a price and a add to cart button. So we'll have the image. Underneath the image, we'll just put fake reviews. I think I already have some stars and reviews here. Why don't we just reuse this element that I have here? We'll put it up there too. Just make the stars a little bit smaller this time. So that's under the reviews section. Here it is, stars. I'll just copy that. Paste it here. we'll need to style it. So I'll create some separate styles for that to shrink it down and everything. But we also need a price for this. So after the stars, we'll put a fake price. Let's say, let's make it an H3 $sign or whatever, 29.99, same price here. Okay, we got the 29.99. We got the reviews. The picture will come in a little bit, and on the add to cart button, I'll create a. Do we need a form, or should I just add a button? Okay, section 2. We could wrap the whole thing. Actually, it's unnecessary. Normally, though, if you're gonna have a button and you click the button, that button has to have some sort of. It's gonna be part of a form, and that form is gonna have information in it that it's gonna collect and send to the backend and do something with it. So in this case, if you're selling something, you click the add to cart button. There's probably gonna be an item ID or a serial or something that is unique to each product, and that's going to be somewhere in the form. You're not going to really see it out here. You're going to see the description, blue raspberry mushroom, but somewhere in the code it's going to have an ID of the product, and when you click the add to cart button, it's going to use that ID to add it to the cart, so then they know what to remove from their inventory and actually start shipping it and all that. So because of that, the button would probably have to be in a form along with like each product. So we could create like a form. And put all of this inside the form. Uh-oh, something's wrong. It's not. Prettier didn't auto fix it for me. I wonder why. That image div. Oh, it's because I put this outside here. Okay, all this goes inside the form. And I don't know, the form could have some sort of ID on it. And the action would be the file in the backend you send it to, but sometimes you don't really need that. Now we could add a input in here. Input or button, it doesn't really matter. If you say input type button, it's pretty much the same thing as using a button tag. These two are really the same thing. This could also have a type equals button or type equals submit, and then this actually could have type equals submit. And if we look at these, well, because of my CSS, I guess I've styled this button so this one also gets styled. I like the style of that, so maybe I'll just keep the button since I think that's the one that's styled. So we'll go with button instead of input. Alright, clicking this will refresh the page though because it's a type equals submit. So I'll just change that to type equals button. Right, now when I click it, it doesn't refresh the page. And it's not gonna say buy, it's gonna say, it's not gonna say submit, it's gonna say add to cart. And why is there two columns here? div hero main section 2. Why is there 2 columns? I thought I got rid of the second column thing. Div section 4. Maybe I should get rid of these span. Oh no. Well, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the span columns, and I'm also gonna get rid of the 2 column thing. So no section should span anything. That was when I had 2 columns. It was necessary for them to fill up both columns, so they wouldn't be half like this. But if I get rid of those, then yeah, it should fix itself. Even though I put grid template columns 1FR for a single column in here, I could get rid of this too. It's kind of unnecessary to say the same thing. But yeah, even though it's only 1 column, according to grid template columns, whenever one of these spans 2 columns, then it kind of overrides this and makes it 2 columns now. Because how can you span 2 columns if there's only 1 column? So what happens is it adds another column. So make sure you remove those span columns. And then let's center this and add a picture and make these stars smaller. So this is main section 2. Div dot section 2. What are those stars called? Class stars, and it's just an image. So stars image. Let's give them a width of like 20 pixels. Make them tiny. Maybe 25. And then also want them to be centered with the reviews text. I don't want this to be like at the bottom here. So these are all inside the div stars. So I could just make stars display flex, and then align item center should center the reviews text with the stars. Center it vertically. So display flex, and then justify, or not justify, align items center. That gets it nice and centered. And I want them to be in the middle here. So justify content center. I would also like them to have some space apart from each other. So I guess the strong tag, I'll just add some padding to the right of it. Strong padding 20 pixels.
Natawanan naman tayo dito.
I don't know if you muted yet, but
Yeah.
nope, you didn't. And Joaquin, you're not muted. I can hear you. Anyways, I'm gonna now add a picture here of some kind of product, like a mushroom gummy product. I could copy one of these. Copy the image. I'm actually not copy. If you're gonna copy, you could copy the link to the image and then just link that way. Or if you want to download, you should probably it's not really a good idea to link images with the image tag or background image using a URL, because you never know when that image won't exist on that URL anymore. So that's why it's safer to download the image, put it in your site folder, and then link to it that way. So I'll just save this one. Let's put it in 165, assignment 3, images. Maybe I'll create a new folder here called products. And we'll call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, since that's the ID I put on the form. And then image source equals dot forward slash images slash products slash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, there's our product. And I'm gonna now take care of the CSS to make this look a little nicer. First of all, section 2 should be text align center. And I think we can make this smaller, so let's give this an ID or a class. Product image, and then product image, give that a width of like 4 or 300 pixels. Let's try that. Yeah, that works. And an entire section 2, let's add some padding to it. Cool. Add to cart. Still have our features down here. Looks a little empty, but this would probably be like a little slideshow with arrows here. You scroll to the next product. I think that would be a good idea. Or you could put 3 columns and have 3 products featured. Let's do that since I don't feel like doing a slideshow. So I'll just take this form and paste it a couple times. Now there's 3 of them. And then section 2 can be display grid template columns 1FR, 1FR, 1FR. And that takes care of that. But you could also do display flex, honestly. If I do display flex, it's still like that, except it's not centered automatically. Let's do display flex, justify content space evenly, and that way it'll space it apart evenly. So in some situations, if you're just gonna have a single row, probably maybe better to use flex instead of grid. Alright, that way I could add other products and it'll just keep adding to the same row. So if I add another one of these, I have a 4th one up here. You can see there's 4 of them. But it doesn't really, at some point it's not gonna fit though. And you have to like scroll to the right to see it. In that case, if you don't want to scroll, you don't want it to stay in a single row like that, you could add in the CSS after the display flex, we can add flex wrap, and that way it'll wrap around if it doesn't fit. Right, that's like a quick, easy way to do. Instead of display grid, like maybe that's a little bit quicker and easier. So you could do that too. I think if you're not gonna know like how many products you have or the actual number of columns and rows you need, maybe use display flex instead of grid. Um, yeah, there we go. So this is starting to look a little more like a website. This is kind of feeling empty, like I feel like it needs something on the top, or I should just get rid of it. This can stay. Maybe I'll just change the order. I'm gonna put see, section 2 and section 3 and 4, I'll just switch them. I'll take section 3, put it after section 4. Like it won't bother me as much if that's all the way at the bottom. Right, yeah. I feel like that just looks better. So I'll put that there. Cool. And one last thing, let's add a little bit of animation here somewhere. Maybe this entire thing here could float up and down. So the whole hero section, main hero, so all of this stuff, I'm gonna animate it. Let's go to CSS. Let's add an animation here. Usually when I'm adding an animation, I'll create the animation and add it all the way at the bottom here. It's not at media, sorry, it's at keyframe, at keyframes. Identifier is just the name you're gonna give the animation. Call it hover. Not to confuse with the hover thing. Let's call it move up and down. Okay. Add keyframes, move up and down is the name of the animation. And what's gonna happen in this animation? The property, we want something to move up and down, and I know you could move things up and down with probably 3 different ways. You could add padding top or padding bottom to move something up and down, or margin top, margin bottom. You could do position absolute and say top, and then I don't know, 20 pixels to move it down 20 pixels. Or you could do transform translate, and translate Y for moving up and down. So I think that's what we'll do. And then you have to also start your animation at one point and end it at another point. You could have something happening at any point during the animation. You don't decide the length of the animation here, you decide that later whenever you're applying this animation to something. But for now, while we're just creating the animation itself, what it's supposed to do, not to what it's gonna do it to, but just what it'll do once you apply it to something. Here you could say start and end. You could say it starts off with transform translate y is 0, so it's not gonna move at all. And then you could end it at transform translate y, maybe move it down like 100 pixels. Or that's too much. Let's say 20 pixels. So it'll start there and end there. But if you want if you want to be more complex with the animation, you want to have like something happening in the middle of it. There's no middle thing you can use here. You could instead use percentages. Say 0% of the animation and 100% of the animation, and then that way you could have like a 50% of the animation. What happens in the middle, or what happens at 25% and 75%. But I think for simple moving up and down, we could just have the start end. We don't need to use percentages. I think it's start end. I might be wrong about the actual word you have to use here. It might be begin and no, I'm pretty sure it's start and end. We'll try it out. If it doesn't work, then obviously it's not start and end. But let me apply this to something now. Right, so anything I apply to, I can animate up and down. Anything I want. So if I want, let's say this shop button, that's the shop button inside Hero. Where's Hero? This is all nav. Let's go down here. Okay, here's Hero. And Hero has a button. I guess I don't have a rule for it here. Where's the button? I guess I created the rule for the button up here outside of Hero. Anyways, I'll add it to button instead. Instead of this button specifically, I'll add this animation to any button. This is like a generic button selector. It's not specifically button inside of this element or that element. It's just, outside in the root. So it'll affect all buttons. So let's add the animation here. The way you add it is just by adding animation, and then the animation name is move up and down. I called it, right? Add keyframes, move up and down. Going back to the button. Right, so animation name is move up and down. How long do you want the animation to last? Let's say 2 seconds. And you have to also choose what sort of animation, or what is it called? Animation timing something. Animation timing function. And that could be cubic Bezier. Basically, you have to create a curve for the animation. So animations can start off like if you have a ball bounce, ball is going to move up and down at a constant speed without really slowing down or speeding up. That's called a linear animation. When the line, like the amount it moves and the time of the animation is a straight line. But you could also have animations that are curved, so maybe it starts off fast and then, or it starts off slow and then, speeds up. Like once it gets to the top, it slows down, and then So it's not like a constant animation. I can't really show you like this, but you know, like an actual ball bouncing, it's gonna hit hard and then bounce up quickly and then slow down, right? Gonna sort of do that. It's not gonna be up and down constantly. So you could have curves in the animation that basically slow it down or speed it up. So this gives you the option to choose what kind of animation timing function you have, and you could just add that here instead of creating a separate rule for it. So this would be the name, this would be the length of the animation, and then timing function can be linear, which is again that straight line. What else do we need? Um, it should start animating already, but I think I'm missing something. Hold on, CSS animation. Let's see what I am forgetting. We got the name, we got the duration. We forgot to add how many times we want it to repeat. Let's just say infinite. What else do we need? Still not working. We need the delay maybe. Name, duration. So name, duration. I'll put the linear after. So infinite for the, well, 0 seconds for the delay. Infinite for the timing function, but before timing function we need to do iteration or wait, yeah, iteration count, and then the timing function, so linear here. I don't know if the order matters. I think we just need to add all of these for it to work. Animation, move up and down. Is my Sass running? Yeah. It should work. I don't think I needed to add every single property. I think 2 seconds and infinite should have been enough. So maybe something else is preventing it from working. Let me go back down to our button here, or the animation. It's probably the start and end. It's not start and end. It's gonna be something else. It's from and to. I knew I was wrong about that. From to. Or you could do 0% and 100%. Yeah, it's from and to. And now you can see it's moving up and down. Or it's just moving down and then jumping back to the top. So if I did 0% to 100%, should work exactly the same. But with this, I could also add like a 50%, and then make the transform translate 20 pixels at 50%, and then at 100%, make it go back to 0. That way it'll move up and down, not just down and jump back up. Now all the buttons are moving up and down, and it's going at a constant speed. It doesn't slow down or speed up. But if we go to, and actually I'm gonna leave it on from and to, and get rid of this third one here, because there's also something else we can do if we wanted to not jump like this but go up and down, up and down. I think there's another property we could change, which is, I think, the animation fill mode. Animation fill mode. Okay, so with animation fill mode, we could like say if we want the animation to play forwards, backwards, or both. So I think if we just add both, it will go from and to, but then it'll go back and forth instead of jumping back to 0. It'll go from 20 pixels back to 0 slowly. So let's go to the button. Alright, so I think if we just add both, let me try adding it as a separate animation fill mode, both. See if that changes it. I don't think it's changing it. What if we do backwards and then forwards? Oh, I thought both would do it, but I guess not. Animation name. Let's add animation iteration. Was it iteration count? I forgot. Infinite. Yeah, okay. Well, it doesn't exactly do what I expected. This one's going from red to blue. I set this to both, but if I just did forwards, what's the difference? Still, I need to understand what this is actually doing since it doesn't do what I expected. Backwards. Yeah, no idea. It doesn't seem to do anything. But, uh, oh, what's alternate? You know what? That's what we need. Alternate, not both. And I don't know if it's still the animation fill mode, but let me see if that does anything. Okay, it's not that. It's probably a different property. Animation direction. Okay, sorry, it's animation direction, not fill mode. That makes more sense. Okay, so if we just do animation direction alternate, then we should get it to go up and down without having to add like a 50% point into animation. Right, and then let me change the linear to well, what are the other options? Um, there's what was the name? I don't want to use cubic bed. This is like a more custom way to do it, but you could just say ease in or ease out. ease in and out. Let's do ease in and out. So basically ease in and out means it'll slow down when it reaches the top and it'll slow down when it reaches the bottom. But if you do ease in only, see, it only slows down when it reaches the top, and then it gets faster towards the bottom. This is more like a ball bounce. You can see it's like speeding up whenever it comes down, but slowing down as it goes up. If I made this a little bit more exaggerated and I increased the amount that it moved, let's move it to like 600 or 60 pixels. You can see it's more like a ball bounce. Let's make it even more though, so it looks more like a bounce. And let's slow it, let's speed it up. Instead of 2 seconds, I'll make it 1 second. Alright, now it's like a ball bouncing. Alright, but if you did ease in, out, it would do this, where it's like slowing down as it goes up and slowing down as it comes down. And if you did ease out, it'll do the opposite of a ball bounce. It's like it's bouncing off the ceiling. And then if you did linear, it would just be constant both ways. I think I like ease in, out though for this. And I'll keep it at 2 seconds. And I'll make this 20 pixels again, not 600. So people don't struggle to click on it. Right, that's better. Also, I didn't really want to add it to the buttons. I wanted to add it to this whole hero section. So let me go back to the buttons where I added the animation. And instead of adding it to animation, to a button, I'm gonna cut it out of here. And cut this too. And let's apply it to the entire hero. So, and also I think alternate, I could just put it here and not have this here. So 2 seconds, 0 second delay, infinite, ease in and out, and alternate. You can see this whole top section is moving up and down. I guess that's cool. I didn't think the background image was gonna move too. I was only expecting the text in here. But I forgot I applied the background image to the hero. So I could wrap these guys in a div, but I'm not gonna do that. I'll leave it like that. It looks cool. Although it's a problem now because I can't click my button over here. It's now covering the hamburger button. What happened to it? I think I just need to make sure the hamburger button has a higher Z index. So that's in the header. We just need to give header a Z index of like 100. There we go. That's still there now. Cool, so I don't know, I think that looks cool. for the buttons, I know it looked kind of cool moving them up and down, but I'll add a different animation for the buttons, just so we see another example. So I'll do another add keyframes. And this time I'll use percentages, 0%, 100%. And this time we'll say background color, or not background. Let's do a drop shadow, or box shadow, I should say. Box shadow. With 2 pixel for the X offset. And let's make it 0 pixels offset, 0 pixels offset. So both X and Y will be 0. I'm gonna make this a glow more than a shadow. Yeah, so 0 pixels, 0 pixels. And then for the blur, let's make it like 10 pixels. And for the color, I'll do RGBA. Let me actually just do a hashtag FFF and then just use the color picker here. Oh, it doesn't actually bring up the color picker. I wonder what that is. Oh, I forgot to give it a name. Add keyframes, glow. Okay, so let's change the color to what color should we make it glow? About this pink color. Okay, we'll make it glow this color. Make it a little bit transparent. It'll start with that color, but then maybe it'll, let's see, it'll start off this color but really transparent, and then it'll end brighter, and then maybe even brighten up the color to, I don't know, I just want it to be a bright pink, and then here it could be more closer to like purple. And save that. So we have a glow animation. It's basically just gonna add this glow from this transparent purple to less transparent but still a little bit transparent pink color, from 0% to 100%. Again, you could do 50%, and you could have this brighter color at 50%. Oops. And then have it go back to the original color like this. That would work exactly the same as this one, but remember up there I added alternate, which basically made it do the same thing. Alright, so I'll just add the glow to the buttons that I removed the animation from. So down here, we'll add animation, glow, 1 second, infinite, linear, or ease in and out. And I forgot to put a semicolon. Let's look at one of these that is not moving. You kind of see the glow behind it. I feel like it's a little too fast. Let's make it 2 seconds. And also it's not as obvious as I was hoping for. Maybe because the background is white. I think this whole website needs a darker background. which means changing all the colors to white. If I have any more. Anyways, we'll look at it in a second. Let me go to the header or the HTML, wherever I put the background color of white, which I guess I didn't put it, it's just white by default. So I'll go to the body. I don't think I have a body selector. We have main, we have HTML, we have header, let's add body. Body, background color, hashtag 222. That doesn't work too well with these pictures that I have here though. But the glow is more obvious though. I think the glow works nicer. Um, if I just got rid of these pictures, used better pictures, the white background would be okay. But I'm gonna leave it. I mean, the dark background would be okay, but I'll leave it the way it was because I don't feel like looking for new images. And let's try to figure out how to make this look nice. So instead of a purple glow, let's call it shadow. And then instead of this color, it'll just be black. So it'll go from transparent black to less transparent black. So we called it shadow. So let's change the glow to shadow. It's doing something weird. Make sure we have 0-second delay. And I don't know why it's moving up and down. What did I mess up here? 10 pixels. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. It feels like it's kind of jumpy. Did I add alternate? I forgot to add alternate, that's why. So shadow 1 second, 0-second, infinite, ease in, out, alternate. That's better. And also, since I am alternating, I don't. Oh yeah, that's why I had this here. I forgot to add box shadow this to 0%. But anyways, I'll just do this at 0% and that at 100%. There we go. Now it's normal. And I'll make it a little bit darker here, so it's more obvious. And maybe increase the spread to 20 pixels. Yeah, let's increase the spread, maybe decrease the opacity a little bit. That's cool. All right. We could also make it look like it's moving up and down. Like if we play with this, let's say, okay, so here, instead of making it get darker as it gets more blurred, let's make it get lighter as it gets more blurred, and then make it get darker as it gets less blurred. So let's make that 0%. And then let's also move it down a little bit, like 2 pixels to the right and 4 pixels down. Let's do it 2 and 4 up here too. And let's not blur it so much. Let's go 5 pixels. And then instead of being that transparent, let's keep that there and keep this here. And how can we make it look like it's getting closer? See, as it gets to 0 here, the blur, when it gets less blurry, let's decrease the offset. Right? And then we could also do this. You could do more than one thing here. We could do transform scale. And as it's getting blurrier, the shadow, that means this is coming higher, like towards the screen or towards you. So at that point, it'll scale like, I don't know, 120%. Oh, that's too much. Still too much. Let's do 102%. Right, so now the buttons look like they're floating up and down in 3D. Alright, makes you want to click to buy the product, I think. And also it goes with the whole psychedelic theme of the mushrooms. Everything's like kind of pulsating, moving around. We could also do other things like have the background color animating and all that. But I think that's enough. Cool. Any questions? I have no more questions. I'm just gonna upload this back to GitHub. So remember, GitHub, we can push to our repository now that it's a Git repository. Just to remind you, like, you have to initiate this as a Git repository by running in your terminal this command. Like, you just open the project in the root directory and type in git init. Init for initialize. So then once you do git init, you'll see this invisible or hidden git folder show up. This one here. If you turn off show hidden files, you won't see it. But you know when you have, I don't know how it is in Mac, on a Mac, but on Windows you could either show or hide hidden files. Right now I have hidden files showing so you can see the git folder, but normally you won't be able to see it. If I click view here, hidden items, you see it disappears. But I turned it on so I could see my hidden files. But that's what gets created when you type in git init. And remember, you can't really use git unless you installed it on your computer, or if you're on a Mac, it's already there. But if you're on a Windows and you don't have git, just go to I forget the URL, but just type in git and just get it from here. git-scm.com. Download for Windows. Again, if you're on a Mac, it's probably already in there, came installed. with your computer when you bought it. Um, it gets you that, and once you have initialized a Git repository, if you're on VS Code, you'll notice things popping up here in this little symbol here. This 7 means I've got 7 changes that I made that I haven't committed yet. Committed means saved. And it's not just gonna save everything in your project by default, because there might be files in here that you don't actually want to save and push to the repository. So it gives you the option to add whichever files you want to save and include in the project, in the Git project. And that's why there's this plus sign. So the plus sign lets you choose which files you want. Like, do you want index.html to be added? Sure. Do I want this vanilla CSS? Yes. Or I could just click this to just add all of them. So now everything should be added. So if I click changes, it doesn't show any more changes here, but it says staged changes. These are all staged, meaning they're ready to be saved. Right? In here, you have to click the plus sign for that. If you're doing it through here, it's git add, and then the file name that you want to add. Or I always press the asterisk or period. Period means just add everything in the current directory. Star just says add everything. Kind of the same. But yeah, that just says add all the files to staged area. So that means everything now can be saved with the git commit. And you type in a message like added animation, and you can click commit to save it, or you could say git commit and then press enter, or git commit -m, press git commit -m plus a message like added animation. If you forget to add -m, a little window will pop up to type in your message and save it. So it's not a big deal if you forgot to put -m and then type in the message. But this and this will do the same thing. Git commit. So I'll just commit the changes. And then sync changes says, okay, push it to the repository. Now, if you haven't set this up with a repository yet, if you go to your GitHub, it'll tell you. If you go here, this is the link that you're supposed to tie it to. And when you first create a repository, it'll give you instructions. It'll tell you actually what to do. Git remote add origin, git it'll give you the command. It's git remote add origin, and then the link here. And then once you do that, when you click sync changes, it'll ask you to log in the first time. So then a little window will pop up. You'll log into GitHub, and then it'll save everything to GitHub. So sync changes and git push do the same thing. So once you do that, then this version up here should be updated. So if I look inside assignment 3 images, I should be able to see the new images that I just added today, like this SVG and the products. You can see they're all here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was all recently added. Now it's up there. And then the other link, again, if you want to host this and be able to visit this, make sure there's an index.html here that you can view. Otherwise, it'll say page not found, and then you have to type in the actual folder name and then whatever index.html you have in there. You have to type the whole path to it. That's why I stress putting the index here at the surface of your repository. But yeah, to host it, you go to settings. Where's my settings? Mm, zoom out maybe. Oh, I'm not logged in, that's why. Okay, you can't just visit anyone's GitHub and go to their settings, obviously. I have to be signed in. So let me just sign in. There we go. Okay, now I can click settings and then go to pages. And I already have this set up to be hosted, but if you don't, you just need to go here where it says build and deployment, and then for the branch, choose your main branch and then save. And then it'll, after a few minutes give you this link. And then this link should have everything that my home computer here has. Right, this is on my desktop. See here, it's 127.0. something, just like this is the live server link that VS Code created, and then this is the actual well, not this one. This is the actual GitHub link. See, it's my repository, summer 2023, and then I could share this with anyone to view it, and that's exactly what I shared here with you. Alright, so if I visit this, it should be the updated version. Yes, it is, with all the animations. And then if you guys want to see what I did so far, you could click link to examples here and download my entire project to see exactly what I did. And this is how I want you to submit your project as well. Okay, so just a home page like this with 1, 2, and 3. You don't need 3 different versions of 3. Just 1, 2, and 3, and that's it. And submit that as your final submission. Only 3 assignments, but consider this homepage like a 4th assignment, I guess, because you still have to create this little homepage. And yeah, that'll be all. And we just need to do the final exam on Saturday, and that's it for WST 165. Next class, maybe we'll get deeper into Git and actually look at creating separate branches and working with a team. We'll also maybe look at more JavaScript related stuff. Although I don't know if you guys have all covered JavaScript yet. I don't think it's a prerequisite for this class. Let me double check. This is 165. Prerequisite is 151. Prerequisite for 151 is CIS 101 or equivalent. So yeah, there's no JavaScript prerequisite for this class, and neither is there one for 166. However, at least for 166, usually I end up doing like a double class, 166 plus like a JavaScript class, um, or JavaScript 2 class. So yeah, I guess I won't have, I can't put in too much JavaScript in this, but I will put in more Git stuff. Be nice if we used all of our knowledge together. If you took all these classes in order, that would be cool. I think um, 165 makes sense to be one of the first ones. Definitely 151 should be the first one. And then 165. And then I think after that you should probably do 154 and 155 and 166. Anyways, no questions? If no more questions, then I'll just post the sign out already. Oh, before I do, let me add one more thing to our project here. Let me add that uh, example quiz. Where is it? Right, so I'll add this there so you can look at it, and the questions are pretty relevant. So just study this, and most likely, if I get lazy and I don't revise this, you'll end up getting this same exact exam on Saturday. But I'll try not to be lazy and I'll switch it up so it's not the same exact questions. But I'm gonna post this um, in my GitHub. So I'll just put it here. Let's copy and paste it here. Final exam. And then let's go to our index.html where I have a link to all of the other classes, assignment 1, assignment 2, 3, sample exam questions. Let's add one more list item here. And the href is going to be // final exam index.html final exam sample. Right, so at the very bottom will be this one now. So let me push that to the repository so you guys can see it. And then I'll create a separate link over here. Definitely need to add assignment final submission, add all 3 assignments to a or I should say link. I'm not gonna force you to put them all in one repository if you already made them separate, but you could always link all of your projects in the same repository or the same page. So link all 3 assignments to a or in a single home page so I can visit that page and click to see all 3 assignments. So again, think of it as a 4th assignment where you're just putting a link to all the other 3. Host it on GitHub pages. Share the link with me. Okay, so the link format, just so we're clear, it should be the name of your repository. Let me go to mine real quick. Because a lot of times you guys share this link. I don't want this link. This is a link to your GitHub repository. I want a link to the live site. So I want this link. So the example I'm sharing with you, you don't need to have 3 different assignment 3s, and you don't need to include a study guide or example exam. So just assignment 1, 2, and 3. And so notice the format on this. It's https:// And then the name of your repository. Actually, it's a name of your user account, I should say. User account name dot github dot io / name of repository. Yeah, and that's it. Assign. And let me just push the example exam here. Added sample exam. Make sure the change is staged, or else committing is not going to change anything. Now that it's staged or added, you can click commit and sync changes. Alright, that's it. Let me stop recording and give you the sign out.